Let's bring on some class. Let's bring on a lady who's posher than anybody I've ever met. Annunziata Rees-Mogg, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Jeremy.
It's nice to have a bit of class, love. Been dragging the dregs this morning. Can we start where we should start, categorically, with this appalling, and I make no apology for raging about this morning, 4 Hatzolah ambulances attacked, belonged to the Jewish community, financed by the Jewish community in Golders Green last night. It is an anti-Semitic hate crime. Starmer's come out and said that. Khan doesn't mention anti-Semitism. I want to ask you a question. You're a lady of real intelligence. How is it in this country, if I can sit here and say I find all forms of racism abhorrent, which I do, why do white Jewish people get treated so appallingly and nobody seems to do anything about it, Annunziata?
It is absolutely despicable, and it's been going on and on and on. I mean, it's been, nearly 20 years since there was an investigation into BBC anti-Semitism. We had the whole Jeremy Corbyn Labour Party events going on with anti-Semitism. There is a rot at the core. And the Jews are a tiny proportion of our population. They make up less than 1%. And yet they are such a focus of hatred. And I'm afraid the left continually conflating the state of Israel with the Jewish faith is making this worse and worse and worse. There was a case recently of I think it was under-14s football match, where the Jewish team, they were from a Jewish school, faced incredible racist abuse from other young teenagers. And our children are learning this, but because it's becoming accepted at the top, and it has got to be rooted out.
I don't understand, though. Maybe I missed the point. But then we're talking about a society that I'm beginning to feel shame about, because we're talking about a society that won't have a national rape gang inquiry. I don't call it grooming because it's rape. Presumably, and I'm told that's because it might upset certain sections of the community. It's the same as crime. When those some of them dreadful people took to the streets after the Southport riots, they weren't all far right. There were some people who were really frustrated by what was going on. They were labelled far right. Why hasn't our Prime Minister come out this morning and said Jew haters are going to be rounded up and thrown in prison? I don't understand, and I think you make the best point, which is they conflate the idea of Netanyahu and that with the Jewish community. I really have a problem with this, because I think it's a disgusting way to treat this group. I really do. It's been a problem of mine for a long time.
It's a complete stain on our entire nation. But it does seem to be that from the top there is a preference for some groups over others. And if we look at the Muslim community, which makes up over 6% of our population, it would seem there are different rules. And when we look at the football match in Birmingham, we saw just how unfair the direction from the top was, that they used AI to justify banning an Israeli team, when in fact it appeared the threat came from the local Muslim community not wanting Jews playing in their area. And we have got to address this from the top. There has got to be leadership, and it has got to be cracked down on. That we are not a country that beats up the smallest and weakest in our community.
It's interesting, isn't it? Somebody just said here, Jez, let's stop the arson attack coverage and say what it is, a dirty terrorist attack, because it affects every community. These ambulances serve everyone in an emergency. I completely agree. It's probably me. I just will not accept that that's it. The problem is, whenever you have this conversation, so I said this morning, Annunziata, I said, we have a government that's just initiated a Muslim czar, right? I don't want racism against Muslims, but I don't want racism against Jews. So why isn't there an anti-Semitic czar in this government? It's as if, and we know that there are several very high-profile Labour candidates, MPs, who will lose their seats. I mean, don't get me on what I think about politicians standing in a community, not even mentioning the community, but talking about Gaza. I'm sorry, that's not the whole point to me. You can have concerns, but you should be doing that. But if our politicians now in power are simply following a path to head off the Greens... I mean, there's another thing. I haven't spoken to you since then. Fair play. Hannah Spencer won Gorton and Denton fair and square, but I haven't mentioned... Have they mentioned trees or hugging a whale or anything? I haven't heard a Green candidate mention anything environmental now. It's Gaza and the Muslim vote, isn't it?
It would seem to be, and there seems to be a huge hypocrisy at the centre of the Green Party, where their big issues are sort of progressive social rights of the trans ideological side, and then it's pro-Islamic countries and foreign affairs from a Muslim standpoint, and those two don't actually go together at all. We know what happens to gay people, to trans people, to women in some of these Muslim countries. And how they try and square that, I do not understand. But it is vote grabbing. And I mean, look at a seat like Wes Streetings. He's under immense threat directly from a Muslim opponent. And he can't.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to say from the Mandelson fallout for a minute. I got that
well,
wrong.
that too. Yeah, no. I don't think we've heard the end of that. Although phones seem to go missing, which is rather convenient.
Just a question, I'm much older than you. How have we got genuinely to this? How have we got to a point where there's Jew hatred, sectarian voting, family voting, a split society, seemingly a government, and I do mean this isn't sort of rhetoric, who seem to favour perpetrators of crime, not victims. I mean, I see people can walk into supermarkets and nick stuff and nobody does anything. I don't recognise, and I'm only 60, well, I am 60, I don't recognise where we're at. And I see it getting worse, and it really concerns me.
None of the small stuff has been cracked down on it. And the broken windows theory that was obviously in America in the 80s, where if you crack down on broken windows and graffiti, you solve crimes higher and higher up the chain and make society safer. And it is proven to work. We've sort of, oh, well, they might need the food, so stealing it's fine. No, it's gangs of people going in and emptying supermarket shelves and reselling it. This is not the poor and needy. We have a welfare system. We have a safety net. This is criminals. But the sort of soft left seem to love adopting a victimhood that is incredibly un-British, but also incredibly bad and rots society. And they have put the immigrants, the asylum seekers into this category, and therefore are sort of, well, they can do no wrong because they're the needy and they're the good people, like us good Labour people. The good.
But how did we?
It's completely false.
Of course, it's false. But how did the sanity amongst the rest of us get pushed aside? What the hell happened to? I've told the story before about opening the door to a woman. You get poo-pooed. What happened to going to work, paying your taxes, not breaking the law, trying to bring your kids up, doing decent things? No, now you might as well sign on or have 57 children, or before anybody says it, yes, I've got 6, I pay for them all like your brother. All those sorts of things. It's almost as if, and I can't even have the conversation with my 22-year-old, core values that I was brought up on have disappeared completely nowadays, Annunziata. Core values.
And I think a lot of this does go back. Maggie Oliver mentioned Tony Blair. A lot of this does go back to Tony Blair, and where we changed from being free, independent people. As Maggie said, there's no such thing as society. It's a collection of individuals. And we went from that individual responsibility, personal responsibility for ourselves, for our families, to being reliant on the state. And it came in the form of a change in benefits. It came in a form of nanny state laws that meant, everyone was wrapped in cotton wool and nothing could ever go wrong. It was never your own fault. It came in the form of tax credits, where if wages weren't enough, the government picked up the slack rather than the market adjusting as it should have. It came in the form of shipping in immigrants to do jobs Brits didn't want to do.
Didn't want to do. God.
And it has become a societal issue that the state tells us what we can and can't do. The state picks up the slack when things go wrong, and nothing is our own fault. And therefore, when you are racist, when you are anti-Semitic, when you are stealing goods because it's helpful for the poor, as we saw in supermarkets in Manchester and other places last week, you are merely helping this cause. You are on the good side. And what we need to get back to each and every one of us having personal responsibility for ourselves, for our families, and to our communities. And we are, at the end of the day, all local in an area, and we have a responsibility to that. It should not all be the government telling us what we can do and saying they can put it right, when clearly, most of the time, they make it worse.
You see, you and I would be old-fashioned. I remember Thatcher. You know, you want to aspire to buy your own house. You want to aspire to run your own business. We're not going to wipe your backside. It's not about state control. It's about living within a community and finding your own feet. Can I ask you very quickly, Annunziata, really grateful for you coming on today. Lord Sewell, do you know him?
I don't know him.
He deserves a shout-out of brilliance today, because Lord Sewell is now a Tory peer for people tuning in, and he was asked by Sir Keir Starmer to come up with a race report. Presumably Starmer thought Lord Sewell will come back and say, well, all these poor minorities and ethnic groups are treated appallingly in the world's terrible. He's actually come back and said something that I think is really, really important in terms of the news cycle. He says that Britain today is failing white working-class boys, and he calls for urgent action on education and opportunity. And just for people tuning in, just so I can lay this out, you know, we've gone to a point, haven't we, where it seems that one doesn't get an interview or a job on ability or experience. Nowadays it's box ticking and what's your language, what's your disability, where did you come from? I'm calling it out because it's absolutely true, and it's gone the other way. Of course we shouldn't prioritise against people with those sort of things, but it's gone the other way, whereby seemingly if you're white working class you can't even get a leg up anymore.
Positive discrimination absolutely destroys countries, and it also destroys the minorities or the sections of society it is meant to support. And we will see that feed through that. Actually, as a female, I never wanted to be on an all-women shortlist to get into Parliament, because I want to know that I'm there on merit and merit alone. I do not want to be ticking some box. We've seen in the Labour Party some of their women who did get there through all-women shortlists probably wouldn't have made the cut if they had open competition. But it's the same for ethnic minorities. And we have now known for years that it is white working class boys whose outcomes are the worst. Their GCSE results, their chances of going to university, their chances of ending up unemployed, all of them come back worse than any other ethnic group or any other class group. And we should really address this, because it is a huge proportion of our population. We are totally failing, and there is no excuse for it, except for we do keep prioritising people in ways that are only related to what they look like rather than what they need.
I couldn't agree more. I'm going to repeat this to you because you wouldn't have been around 2 hours ago. I told the story about a mate whose girlfriend's daughter's partner was, I mean, listen, 23, 24, semi-professional rugby player, got a first-class honours degree, I think, from Durham, wanted to work in finance, just a good-looking middle-class boy. Send off 200 applications over 12 months. Couldn't even get a response. And one of his friends, yeah, this is totally true, got him to change his pronouns and got him to put non-binary, and he got 4 job interviews in a month. That's absolute rubbish, man. And how does that work? How is that based on ability? That's where Trump was right. Shouldn't be on colour of skin or disability. It should be on ability, right?
I've got a friend who works in one of the big accountancy firms and was told that as a middle-aged straight white man, he was not going to get promotion. And again, it's completely wrong to have these tick boxes.
Yeah.
It's bad for how things are run. It's bad for those banks who don't take the best people. It's bad for that firm that doesn't promote the best people, but it's fundamentally bad for the country, because this is all led by our civil service, who have more tick boxes than anyone else.
We love having you on the show. Thank you. And I love the Mummy's Day card behind. It's very well drawn. It's very lovely. Annunziata Rees-Mogg, head, popular conservatism. Thank you very much indeed. What a lovely lady.